Hey everyone, and welcome to this edition of Just Parlays. I'm Jim Williams, and with me is the man, the legend, the person who will give you all the insight into how to win, Chris King. Chris, how are you, buddy?
Good, Jim. How are you?
Not bad, not bad. We got had some fun stuff happen for us last night, and some things that went a little weird. But such is the way of the world, right? That's why they call it gambling and not winning every day. So there you go.
Well, I mean, like we said, the big one was, of course, Illinois. We said that Kofi Cockburn was going to bully Minnesota inside, and he put up 27 points and 10 boards, and Illinois won that one going away. Wasn't even close. You have to feel bad for Ben Johnson, but that's the problem you take when you have a short rotation and you don't have any size.
Well, you mentioned that yesterday. I mean, basically that they're not going to go inside, and they got nobody who could match up with them. So, hello, Illinois. So, the fight and the lion, I live to see another day. It just was a weird night on a number of levels because we're now at that point in time where there's been 95 NHL games canceled, and you wonder how can they make those games up and still end before Thanksgiving of next year, of this year. So we'll see, but it's getting to be a situation where when we come to you at 1:30 on in the afternoon, we think there's going to be NHL hockey, but sometimes stranger things have happened. So there you go. Before we get started, Chris, let's talk about our sponsor, which of course is the Caesars Sportsbook. Now, here's the deal, folks. If you have not tried Caesars, first of all, we highly recommend you give it a shot. And for those of you who are first-time wagerers, use the Caesars Sportsbook app or online, and you use the code that's in the show box below, which is for all of you winners and whiners. Easy for you to say, winners and whiners followers out there. Use the promo code Video Winners. Okay, Video Winners will give you this opportunity, and that's this: any of the first wagers you make, either on the app or online, they will match up to $1,000. So it's free money, as Chris likes to say. There's an opportunity here to double your bet on, a game, and we're going to give you many of them to look at here. And just check out the
Should have doubled it on Illinois yesterday. You would have been feeling pretty good about yourself today.
Yeah, you've been in great shape. So look, the deal again for those of you who are Winners and Whiners followers, when you go to the Caesars Sportsbook or the app, all you have to do is use the promo code, which is right there in the show box below and on the crawl underward that says Video Winners. Enter that code, and they'll match you dollar for dollar for your first wager all the way up to $1,000. Now, you must be 21 years of age to participate. When you click on the link below, you'll find out what states that you can use to work with Caesars on the sportsbook. And as we always say, bet responsibly. This is important that you understand that you should be responsible when you participate in gaming. That's what we at Winners and Whiners always tell you. It's also what the folks at Caesars want. We want you to have fun, but do it responsibly. So take advantage of the promo code Winners from Winners and Whiners, which of course is Video Winners, and Caesars will match your first foray into using their book dollar for dollar up to $1,000. Okay, we'll tell you a little bit more about it later, but before we go on, let's get moving on to college basketball.
Yeah, and we're going to start over at the Breslin Center in East Lansing, where Michigan State, they're a heavy favorite tonight over Nebraska. The Spartans are 12-2 this year. Nebraska 6-8. But if you take a closer look at that 6-8 record, Nebraska 0-6 in games against Tier A and B opponents, which are teams ranked in the top 50 and the top 100 in the KenPom rankings. Their best win this season has come over none other than Sam Houston State, rated 239th in the rankings. Doesn't really move the needle all that much. if you are a fan of Fred Hoiberg's team up there in Lincoln. They've lost 5 of their last 6. Michigan State's won 7 straight. Their 2 losses were on neutral floors to Kansas and Baylor. Nobody's going to fault you for losing those games. Nebraska 0-2 on the road. The Spartans 6-0 at home. Nebraska 334th in scoring defense, giving up more than 77 points per game. They're 284th in three-point defense, which doesn't bode well against the Michigan State team, averaging 75.6 points a game and who shoot better than almost 39% from beyond the arc. Nebraska 5-14-1 against the spread in their last 20 after an ATS win. They're 1-4-1 against the spread in their last 6 on the road against teams with a winning home record. Meanwhile, Michigan State 8-2-1 in their last 11 at home as a favorite. It's an ugly number, sure, but the way Nebraska gives up points and the way Michigan State's been playing of late, you should think that they would have no problem covering the line here against a Nebraska team that has lost recently by 35 at home to Michigan and by 31 to Auburn on a neutral floor. I just have no faith in the Cornhuskers right now. They're trying to rely on Bryce McGowan and Alonzo Verge Jr., who transferred from Arizona State. But those 2 guys can't carry the team by themselves. Look for Michigan State's more team concept to get the win here.
You know, we always talk about, jokingly, Jim Boeheim and Syracuse and how long is he going to stay. You have to wonder about Tommy Izzo at Michigan State. I mean, because Tom's been there for a very long time and has had tremendous success. You do wonder at what point, these guys are going to call it quits.
That's true. But, I mean, I guess when you're playing well, it doesn't matter.
Well, that's true. Misery, it's only misery that loves company, not success. All right, onward and upward we go.
Yep, and we'll go to the Big Apple over there in the Carnesecca Arena in Queens. Depaul, they're a 5-point underdog against St. John's. I actually like them here. Depaul 9-3 on the year. St. John's is 8-3. I know DePaul's lost 2 straight. They got hammered by Providence the other night, and then Providence then turned around and laid an egg last night at Marquette. Meanwhile, St. John's, they haven't played since December 18th when they lost by 2 points to a struggling Pitt team, and that's probably being generous. Their last 4 games were postponed to a COVID outbreak that ripped through their locker room. This one could be a track meet when you get right down to it. DePaul 73rd in scoring offense at 77.3 points a game. They're decent defensively. Meanwhile, St. John's, they score a lot of points. They're 13th in the nation at 82.6 points a night, but they're 260th in scoring defense, and they're 286th at defending the 3. The Red Storm 1-7 in their last 8 at home, and 1-7 against the spread in their last 8 overall. 1-6 in their last 7 as a home favorite, and 1-4 in their last 5 against teams with a winning straight-up record. Mike Anderson, you know what you're going to get out of him. They're going to press. They're going to try and force turnovers, and they're going to run. The problem is, after not playing for 2.5 weeks and having a lot of their key guys in the COVID protocols, what kind of conditioning are they? What kind of condition are they in coming into this one? I mean, when you don't play for that long of a stretch, you can get a little rubber-legged, and playing a team like DePaul that'll run with you. I mean, Tony Stubblefield's done a good job with the Blue Demons. Can St. John's hold up down the stretch?
Answer is no. The Red Storm.
And will St. John's be shorthanded? Because there's speculation they're going to be missing some guys. We just don't know who it's going to be yet. They hope to get Julian Champagne back and Pasha Alexander and Tariq Coburn, but we don't know who else is going to be on the floor for the Red Storm tonight.
Right. It won't be Chris Mullen. We know that. So there's definitely going to be some problems there. And look, the Blue Demons are playing well. Paul's playing well from that standpoint. And, it's a Big East game. So we'll have some fun with it. I agree. I think the Blue Demons are going to give St. John a lot of trouble tonight. And we move on from DePaul and we go to a battle of Indiana teams. So,
yeah, it's the Missouri Valley.
The Sycamores.
Yeah, Indiana State. Larry Bird not suiting up tonight, in case you guys were wondering.
Doesn't have
still a 6-point favorite over Evansville. Evansville 4-9 this year. Indiana State 8-6. Sycamores, they won 5 straight. They beat Bradley over the weekend in a game where I didn't think they were going to pull it out. Evansville, they've dropped 3 in a row. Evansville, they don't score a lot. They're 332nd in scoring offense at 61.7 points a game. They only shoot 40.8% from the field and 31.9% from three. They're facing an Indiana State team that's pretty good offensively. They average 75.9 points a game. They shoot 46.5% from the floor and 35.2% from three. Meanwhile, not only is Evansville bad offensively, they struggle defensively. They're 340th in the nation in field goal percentage, defense at 47%. They are 349th in three-point defense as opposing teams shoot 38.4% from out there. Evansville 3-17-1 in their last 21 on Wednesday. They're 2-9 against the spread in their last 11. Oh, now I'm being told that the Indiana State-Evansville game apparently was canceled recently because it was not canceled as of half an hour ago. But, of course, that's COVID for you. Evansville is always out to mess things up. Yep, it was postponed for COVID protocols, of course. So we can skip that one now. But we know that Indiana State was going to win anyway. Right. So there you go. So we'll move on to the last one that we have on the board, which as of 10 minutes ago wasn't canceled because we just talked about it in the pre-show.
Talk fast.
North Carolina going on the road to face Notre Dame. Tar Heels a 2-point favorite out there in South Bend in this ACC tilt. They're 10-3 on the year. Notre Dame 7-5. North Carolina's won 7 of 8. Notre Dame's won 3 in a row, and they're 5-0 at home. But North Carolina's 3-0 on the road, so they've got that going for them. Hubert Davis, he's done a good job. The Tar Heels really haven't missed a beat offensively. They're 37th in the nation at 79.5 points a game. 32nd in field goal percentage at 48.2, and 9th in three-point shooting as they shoot 40% from beyond the arc. Meanwhile, Notre Dame, they're 107th in scoring defense, but if you look, that's mainly due to the tempo they play because they're 256th in field goal percentage defense and 335th in three-point defense, which doesn't bode well when you got a team like North Carolina that can shoot from out there.
Right.
The Tar Heels are 4-1 in their last 5 as a favorite, 4-1 in their last 5 against teams with a winning record. Notre Dame 2-8-1 in their last 11 at home against teams with a winning road record, and 1-7 against the spread in their last 8 against teams with a winning straight-up record. Sure, Mike Bray, they've won 3 straight over there in South Bend, but he's got a very short rotation where they're basically only playing 7 guys. That doesn't bode well, especially if you get in foul trouble or, if fatigue becomes a factor. In North Carolina, they're a little deeper. And, the Tar Heels, they've played some quality teams this season. Mm-hmm. If you look, they've taken on, let's see, who'd they play already? They lost to Purdue and Tennessee and Kentucky. Those are the 3 losses. Nobody's going to fault you for that. They also routed Michigan at home, and they blew out Boston College on the road in their last game. You have to think that the Tar Heels can take care of Notre Dame on the road. I just don't have a lot of faith in a Fighting Irish team that has no depth.
No.
Not to mention a team that beat Pitt by 1 in their last game.
Yeah, no, this is not the Mike Bray teams of old. And you're right. Carolina's playing good basketball, so you'd be foolish not to hang with the Tar Heels, that's for sure. All right, moving on. We go to the
pond.
NHL. To the pond.
Yeah, we get to the pond.
On frozen pond we go. And the battle of
Eastern Canada.
The East and West game, the Leafs and the Edmonton Oilers, and all you need to know about this game is in the second line of that long, wonderful list of things that Chris has given to you. Go for it, man.
Yeah, the Oilers 18-13-2, but they're 2-6-2 in their last 10. The Leafs 21-8-2 on the season. They're 7-2-1 in their last 10. The big thing, like Jim said, Connor McDavid and Tyson Barrie, along with Derek Ryan, will not play tonight for Edmonton. They were formally placed in the COVID protocols this morning. Austin Matthews will play tonight for the Maple Leafs after back-to-back negative tests. So apparently he had a false positive in the first test on Monday. He was practicing this morning. He will play tonight. Jack Campbell, 16-5-2 with a 186 goals against and a 939 save percentage with 4 shutouts. Is going to be in the between the pipes for Toronto. He's coming off a 6-0 blanking of Ottawa Saturday night. Meanwhile, Mike Smith is 2-1-1 with a 391 goals against. He's expected to come back after missing the last 2 games for Edmonton. The The Leafs third in the league in goals against. They give up 2.42 goals a night. Edmonton 21st in that category as their goaltending is not held up. Edmonton 1-6 in their last 7 against Eastern Conference teams. 1-5 in their last 6 against teams with a winning record. 0-4 in their last 4 on the road. The Leafs 14-3 in the last 17 on Wednesday. 8-2 in their last 10 against the West. 4-1 in their last 5 as a home favorite. And those last 2 lines even more damning for the Oilers. Even when they're healthy, Toronto has won 21 of the last 27 meetings overall and 9 of the last 3 at the Scotiabank Arena. Without McDavid, you have to think that the Oilers are going to really struggle. Leon Draisaitl can't do it by himself. Zach Hyman started hot after he left Toronto for Edmonton in the offseason, but he's tapered off since. You have to think that Toronto will win this one. And to answer your question there, Rush Diamonds, yeah, I look for it to go under, especially with the way Toronto plays on their own end. And Edmonton losing McDavid takes out arguably one of the most talented players in the league. So they're going to struggle offensively.
I was going to say, I don't get to see him that often because of them playing in the West, but Connor McDavid is one of those guys who, if I know the games on television, I will watch it. He's a fun player to watch. There's no question about it.
For sure.
Yeah. All right, so we go from Toronto and Edmonton onward to.
We're going to go to the PPG Paints Arena in a battle of 2 hot teams, the Penguins and the Blues.
The Glass
the Blues 19. Yeah, the Penguins 19-9 or the Blues 19-9-5. The Penguins 18-8-5. Not San Jose. Pittsburgh has won 8 straight. They beat San Jose 8-5 Sunday afternoon. In a game where they led 6-1 after the opening period, saw the Sharks cut it to 6-5 before putting it away with a couple empty net goals. Meanwhile, the Blues, they're 7-1-1 in their last 9. They won the Winter Classic in the sub-zero temperatures
Saturday night
in Minnesota on Saturday night. Entertaining game if you tuned in and watched it. The Blues 5th in the league in goals per game, 3.45 a night. Pittsburgh 12th at 3.16, but the Penguins have the edge in goal. They are 5th in goals against at 2.48. The Blues are 11th at 2.7. St. Louis 2-7 in their last 9 on the road. They're also 2-7 in their last 9 with at least 3 days of rest in between games. Pittsburgh 4-0 in their last 4 against the West. They're 11-1 in their last 12 after a win. They're 13-3 in their last 16 overall. And they're 8-2 in their last 10 when their opponent comes in after scoring at least 5 goals in their last game. The way the Penguins have played of late, they're hot. They're at home. The Blues, they've struggled on the road. You have to give the edge to the Penguins. Pittsburgh finally starting to get healthy.
Mm-hmm.
And you have to think they're going to come up with a win there to make it 9 straight victories.
Yep, and you got to wonder if St. Louis is thawed out from that trip to Minneapolis over the weekend. But it was pretty darn.
The other game that was supposed to be tonight, Jim, was Barry Trotz and the Islanders going to face your other buddy Bruce Boudreau and the Canucks. That game was postponed because the Islanders decided that they weren't going to make that road trip out west with all the border issues north of the border and having no fans in Canada. Well,
then we'll just give the win to Bruce.
There you go.
There you go. Well, yeah, we're allowed to do that. We'll give it to him. All right. So
I actually have Youngstown State coming up later in the brackets there. So yeah, I actually like Youngstown State tonight in college hoops in their contest with
good night
the all exciting.
Yeah. There you go.
Yeah, Youngstown State, they're a good team. I mean, nobody talks about them because they're another team that play in the Horizon League. They're playing Robert Morris. We talked about Robert Morris last week when Oakland beat them.
Sure.
So they've got that going for them.
Yeah, and the other thing, who doesn't like the Penguins, right? I mean, that's you gotta like the Penguins, and that's who you like. The Penguins in hockey, you like the Penguins in basketball. So there you go. All right, moving on.
You like the Penguins in general? Why not?
Yeah, why not? They're cute. Why not? All right. So we're going to go on to the association, right?
Yes, sir.
And
we are going to go to Orlando, everybody's favorite, city in the middle of Central Florida where they like to sell cleaning products in their own building.
Right.
Philadelphia, they're favored by 9 here. The 76ers 20-16. The Magic 7-31. They're at the bottom of the Eastern Conference. That's right. Even Detroit passed them now. Philadelphia's won 4 in a row. The Magic have lost 6 straight. They're playing their third game in 4 nights after losing in overtime to Boston on Sunday. They lost by 4 to Chicago on Monday. Magic 28th in scoring offense, 28th in field goal percentage, 27th in three-point shooting. As of an hour ago, with the latest injury report, they still won't have Michael Carter-Williams, Markelle Fultz, Jonathan Isaac, Robin Lopez, E'Twaun Moore, Jalen Suggs, or Moritz Wagner. Cole Anthony, Wendell Carter Jr., both questionable tonight. Meanwhile, Philadelphia expected to miss Tyrese Maxey, Shake Milton, and Matisse Thybulle. We don't need to talk about Ben Simmons. Everybody knows he hasn't played all season.
Right.
With that said, the 76ers are 7-1 against the spread in their last 8 on the road against teams with a winning percentage at home below 400. They're 11-3 in their last 14 overall against teams with a winning percentage below 400. The Magic just 5-20-1 in their last 26 at home against the spread. They are 4-12-1 in their last 17 against teams with a road winning percentage greater than 600, and they're 0-4 in their last 4 playing on 1 day of rest. I like Philadelphia to cover the line here. They're coming off that 20-point pasting of Houston the other night at home. They should have no problem dispatching the, as Jim likes to call them, the I-4 Magic.
Right.
They'd be better off just bringing up the whole G League team at this point because the way the guys that they've had on the roster have played, you wouldn't tell the difference anyway. But they'd save money against the Cavs.
It's only a half-hour bus ride from Lakeland to the Amway, not the Amway Arena. I'm sorry, the Amway Center in Orlando. So, we might be seeing a lot of those G League players on the Orlando Magic team tonight. I think the next slide we're going to is a much better team that we're going to see play.
Yeah, it's the Warriors going down to the American Airlines Center to take on Mark Cuban's boys, the Mavs.
Mm-hmm.
Golden State 29-7 this year. Dallas 19-18. Golden State, they won 5 of 6, 8 of their last 10. Dallas has won 3 in a row, but they expect to be minus Kristaps Porzingis, Boban Marjanovic, and Isaiah Thomas, who are all in the protocols. Willie Cauley-Stein, he hasn't played since the late November. He's still out with personal issues. Both teams are top 5 scoring defenses. The Warriors lead the league in scoring defense at 101.5 points a game. The Mavericks are third. The difference comes on the offensive end, where Golden State's fifth with 111.3 points a game. Dallas just 26th at 105.1. That's the big difference here when you get right down to it. That and the fact that, the only guy that's really missing for Golden State is Andre Iguodala. He's questionable with a sore knee. Golden State 7-2 in their last 9 after an ATS loss, 9-3 in their last 12 on Wednesday. Dallas 2-6 against the spread in their last 8 as a home underdog, and 1-4 against the spread in their last 5 after an ATS win. If Porzingis was playing, you'd think that Dallas would have a better shot, but Luka Doncic can't carry that team by himself against a Warriors team that beat Miami the other night, despite Steph Curry going 3 of 17 from the floor and 1 of 10 from three-point range. I mean, if you can't beat Golden State when Curry shoots that poorly, what chances did the Mavs have without their 2 big men and Porzingis? And I know Marjanovic is more of a fringe player, but he's still good at clearing the boards and can put in a couple buckets here and there.
Yeah, looks like a good night for Golden State. So you're in Dallas, and I don't know, I'm feeling like a New York state of mind. Is that where we're going next, boss?
No. We're going to Indiana.
We're going
you
to
have to remember, Kyrie Irving can't play in New York City.
Oh, that's a good point. Yes. Okay. He can't
we got the Nets. But you were technically right. I mean, we have a New York team in here.
Right.
But the Nets favored by 8 over the Pacers. The Pacers 14-24. The Nets 23-12. Indiana playing the second game of back-to-back. They've lost 5 in a row. They lost to the Knicks last night, 104-94. The Nets have dropped 3 in a row, but those were all at home. Kyrie Irving is expected to make his season debut tonight. Remember, the Nets flip-flopped last month and decided that they will let him be a part-time player where he can play on the road, except when they play the Knicks, because he can't play, like we said, he can't play in New York City. I don't know, is a vaccination mandate in place in Washington, Jim? Can he play when
He
they
could
play
play in
if they play the Wizards?
He could play in Washington.
Okay, I wasn't sure
Yeah.
what the situation was there.
Yeah,
But,
he could play.
Okay.
When they come down to the Capital One Arena, he could play.
Okay. Yeah, so Irving, he's not expected to start. He's expected to see a big chunk of minutes. I figure he'll probably play maybe 20, 25 minutes tonight. Meanwhile, the Pacers, Malcolm Brogdon, Chris Duarte, Jeremy Lamb, all doubtful, so don't expect them to see the floor. Karis LeVert still out, so is TJ McConnell and TJ Warren. The Nets 4-0 in their last 4 on the road, 6-1 in their last 7 on the road against teams with a winning home record, 4-1 in their last 5 after a straight-up loss by double digits. Indiana's just 2-6-1 in their last 9 overall, 2-6-2 in their last 10 after a straight-up loss. And the Nets are 4-0 against the spread in the last 4 meetings in Indiana. Let's face it, we talk about the Pacers all the time, how, you can make a lot of money by fading them lately. We faded them last week when they were favored at home against Charlotte. We faded them yesterday against the Knicks. We're fading them again here. You have to think the Nets are pretty healthy. The only guy on the injury report besides Joe Harris, LaMarcus Aldridge, is questionable. Durant, Harden, and now Irving. You have to think that Brooklyn should have little problem dispatching an Indiana team that has to try to funnel their offense through Domantas Sabonis and Miles Turner if he feels like playing with any kind of energy
or conviction.
So, so look for the Nets to win this one rather convincingly.
Okay. All right. Well,
Ryan, to answer your question about the Chiefs real quick, as long as Kansas City has something to play for, they should have a little problem beating a Denver team that looked rather listless the other day against the Chargers. If you look at recent meetings, in the last, Kansas City has won all 10 of the last 10 meetings, winning by 23, 10, 3, 4, 7, 24, 20, 27, 6, and they won by 13 in the first meeting this season, last month in Kansas City. I don't have any faith in the Broncos. If Drew Lock is under center again, I don't think Teddy Bridgewater is going to come back this season. So you have to think that the Chiefs should have little problem winning this one by double figures, because if Tennessee screws up somehow and loses to Houston again, the Chiefs could still, bump their way into the number 1 seed, which of course nobody wants to see outside of Scott Steen, which I'm sure he would tell you at 3:00. But
right.
Nobody else wants to see that. But the way Denver's looked down the stretch, you have to think Kansas City should have a little problem dispatching them.
Let's take a second and go back and talk for a moment about Caesar Sportsbook. Now, they are buddies of ours, and we highly recommend that you go out to Caesar Sportsbook and, take a look at it, kick it around, kick the tires around. And because Winners and Whiners and Caesar Sportsbooks are such buddies, they've come up with a deal for us, and it's a good deal. We talked about it a little earlier. You make that first wager using the app or online, and use the promo code, Video Winners. All that's in the show box below, but scrolling through, use that promo code, Video Winners. And what Caesar's going to do is they're going to match whatever you bet all the way up to $1,000. Now, as Chris likes to say, that's free money, and free money is good money. So if you're going to take the opportunity, and we hope that you do, to take some of the advice Chris gives you today, go over to Caesar Sportsbook. And for those of you, as I said, first-time users, try the app, try the online situation, use the promo code, Video Winners, and they're going to match that for you, okay? Now, when you check it out, as I said before, two very key things. One, Caesar Sportsbook is not available in every state, so that's why we want you to check out the list in the show box below. They'll tell you which states there are involved in. You also have to be 21 to make the wager. And lastly, as we've said all along, do so wisely. Always bet wisely. It's the best way to go. So now we're going to leave Caesar Sportsbook and we're going to head for 2 for the money, correct?
Oh, hold on, Jim. There is a little bit of breaking news now that in the NFL on Sunday, Joe Burrow is going to not play for the Bengals this week against Cleveland. So
Ooh,
you'll have neither quarterback in that game. It'll be Case Keenum and Brandon Allen in
wow.
the Battle of Ohio. Burrow's going to sit out to rest his sore knee and his injured pinky for the postseason. Now, of
Mhm,
course, I'm not going to complain too much because if Cleveland can actually pull out an upset, that would do me a favor because it would move Buffalo up to the 3 seed
mhm.
if they beat the Jets. Also, um, Mike Budenholzer, the coach of the Milwaukee Bucks, entered the health and safety protocols earlier this afternoon. Grayson Allen, Pat Connaughton also in the protocols for the Bucks. So if you were looking, I'm checking to double check about the status of Giannis Antetokounmpo to see if he's in the protocols. There have been reports that he could be in. Yep, he is out tonight for the Bucks, so that'll probably switch that line against the Raptors rather substantially. He's out with a non-COVID illness, but he won't be playing tonight for the Bucks against the Raptors. So just so you guys are on the up to date on that.
Yeah. Scoop, S- Scoop King there, giving us the latest news from the sports world. Well done. We need to
Well, I
know
mean,
these.
it's obviously going to impact some lines on some of these games for sure.
Oh, sure.
So I mean,
2 for the money.
it could change from now to 10 minutes from now.
That's true.
But yeah, the top 2 teamers I like tonight is like we said, the Leafs over the Oilers. The Oilers have struggled against Toronto anyway, and without McDavid, it's going to be an uphill battle. Tyson Barrie also out taking out their number 1 defenseman. You have to think that the Leafs will prevail at home, and North Carolina -2 over Notre Dame. Of course, the Fighting Irish, they have no bench to speak of. We just talked about it. Brooklyn -8 over Indiana. Let's face it, the Pacers, you make a lot of money fading them. We've talked about it repeatedly, and our good friend Elliot told you, you can make a lot of money fading Indiana. We're going to stick with it. It's kind of like the next one here. You're going to ride Golden State till the wheels fall off. You can ride Indiana losing until the wheels fall off. And the Warriors over the Mavs, like we said, the Mavs without Porzingis. Trey Burke is questionable tonight. The Warriors are healthy. They're rested. They're motivated.
And they're good.
And they're good. Can't argue with a 29-7 record. Look for them to bounce back from Curry's disappointing shooting night against Miami the other night, as he has a big night tonight for the Warriors as they get the win over Mark Cuban and the Mavs.
4 for the show comes up next.
Yep, and we got the 76ers over, like we said, over the I-4 Magic. Now, of course, I have to change this because Indiana State was in my picks there, but they are now out. So we will shift in somebody from, let's see, what were some of the other games I liked today? I'll just move somebody from the bottom or from the shot in the dark. We'll take the Jazz -3.5 over the Nuggets. Denver really struggling of late. Utah's pretty healthy outside of Joe Ingles in the COVID protocols. He's the first player for Utah to be missing of late. Michigan State -15.5 over Nebraska. We talked about how Nebraska has beaten no one this season. Michigan State unbeaten at home. They've won 7 in a row. They should have little problem dispatching a Nebraska team that forgot how to play defense. And finally, the Penguins over the Blues. Like we said, Pittsburgh's won 8 in a row. They're white hot right now. They're lighting the lamp with a ridiculous rate. And the Blues, like Jim said, they may not have thawed out after playing down up there in Minnesota for the Winter Classic. They could be frozen.
Right.
And as Ryan pointed out, now that Burrow and Mixon are both out for the Bengals, the line has now moved to Cleveland favored by 5.5 points in a game where, who knows what could happen. Cincinnati was originally favored, but they were favored by as many as 3. Caesars apparently hasn't updated their book yet. They're still at Bengals -3, but most other books now have Cleveland by 5.5. Outside of the Win has it at Cleveland by 4.5. But it just shows you how quick the line will move when you get breaking news like that.
And don't expect that line to go back swinging in the favor of Cincinnati anytime soon.
Right. And I mean, Like Milwaukee was favored by 7.5
Mm,
before Antetokounmpo. It's down to 3.5 now.
right.
So people are jumping on the Raptors bandwagon, even though Toronto's playing the second game of back-to-back after beating San Antonio last night in a game that did go over the total, which we also called yesterday.
Exactly. All right. Here we go, folks. The time that you always wait for. The big one. As we like to say, it's the Jack Buck special. It's the Go Crazy, folks. What do we got, Chris, in the Go Crazy file?
Well, we got, like we said, Nathan was asking about Youngstown State. I like Youngstown State -4 over Robert Morris tonight. The Colonials, they've struggled this season. We talked about it when they lost to Oakland last week. Robert Morris can play good for a half. The problem is basketball is a 40-minute game. Bowling Green, they're an 8-point underdog on the road at the Alumni Arena in Buffalo. If Josh Mabala was playing for UB, I would be backing the Bulls. He leads the team in rebounding. He's in the COVID protocols. He will not play. Neither will Trayvon Fagan. It's unclear if Jim Whitesell, the coach of the Bulls, will be back from his quarantine period. Either way, Bowling Green, I like to win and cover there. Cleveland State, I mean, we talked about them. They hung tough against Oklahoma State on the road in Stillwater, and they played pretty well in the Horizon League. I look for them to cover -10 over Indiana, Purdue, Fort Wayne, the Mastodons. Jim, I know this next one will hurt you. The Houston Cougars -14.5, ranked 12th in the country over your alma mater, the South Florida Bulls. But let's face it, Brian Gregory's team doesn't score a lot of points. They're going to have to rely on their defense. I know Houston's hurting without Marcus Sasser and Tremont Mark, who are both out for the year. But you have to think South Florida, facing that Houston defense, they might be happy if they score 45.
Yeah. This is not look, Houston's a great basketball team. It's hard not to even if South Florida was playing at their best, which they're not, they'd have a tough time with Houston. I mean, Houston's a good team. There's no question about it.
Right. And even with those two guys missing, you have to think that, they've got enough offense to take care of South Florida with their shooting.
Yeah.
Davidson -4.5 over St. Joseph's in the A-10. Davidson's played some good basketball for Bob McKillop. The Hawks, they're up and down. Now, I just took Utah, moved it up to the 4 for the show after Indiana State decided that they didn't want to play. So we will shift, just for the hell of it, we'll take the Atlanta Hawks +1 over Sacramento and plug them in there. Just because Trae Young, he had 56 the other night and then lost to Portland in a game where Anthony Simons had 40 to lead the Trailblazers. Also, the Pistons, we can't really talk about the Pistons ever being hot, but they won back-to-back games for the first time this season. Coming into this game, they're a 10-point underdog, but, Charlotte is the worst team in the league when it comes to scoring defense. They give 133 to Phoenix. They give 124 to Washington. Take the 10 and the Hornets. Just by the way, this is only the 8th time this season the Hornets have been favored. All year they've played now. Going into this will be game number 39. So that tells you how much the league the sports books love Charlotte.
Right.
The Wizards. Yeah, the Wizards -7.5 over the Rockets. We talked about this the other day. The Rockets, they had that 7-game win streak. Just remember this about the Rockets. Outside that 7-game win streak, they are 3-28. That's all you need to know. The Celtics play in the front game of a home and home or a back-to-back because they'll play the Knicks tomorrow. I'll take them -7.5 over the Spurs, who have lost 3 or 4 in a row, and they were just trounced by Toronto last night. So they're playing the second game of back-to-back here. And finally, the Oilers and Leafs under 6. Toronto plays well on their own end. Edmonton without McDavid. They struggle to score against the Maple Leafs as it is. Look for this one to fall short of the total. Well, it was 6 then. I understand it's 6.5 now, but that could shift back down too.
Yeah, all kinds of crazy. All right, any final thoughts before we skip out of here today, buddy?
Let's see what Kyrie Irving can do on the floor now that he hasn't played in such a long time. But look for the Nets to win. Fade Indiana all day long. Take it to the bank.
Twice at night. All right, speaking of taking to the bank, Stay tuned at 3 o'clock for our buddies Back to the Window with Scott and Scott. And until tomorrow at 1:30, when we come back to join you. For Jim Williams, I'm Chris King. For Chris King, I'm Jim Williams saying so long, everybody. Have a great day and, have some fun tonight. Enjoy